Guys, I need to know if I'm overreacting here or not because my husband and his entire family have been trying to convince me that what I'm doing is not needed and it's not right. So now I need an unbiased opinion from other people because I really feel like I'm going to go crazy if this continues and I don't know what else to do now. Basically, it all started a couple of months ago when my dad's company took a serious hit. I won't get into the details, but there was a deal that went particularly wrong and he lost a lot of money. And since then, he's just been trying to make up for everything that has happened. He's been trying to keep his company afloat, so he has had to cut corners at home. And things are not going that well for my parents. I've been trying to help as much as I can, but I also have my own life and expenses to think about. And I'm their only child, so I've been feeling guilty for not being able to do enough. So a few weeks back, I made up my mind that if things did not get better, I was going to ask my husband to help out my parents as well. I figured that he would agree because we've been together for quite a while. We've been together for almost 8 years and we've been married for 4 years. So he has known my parents for a pretty long time. And we know each other's family quite well, and we love and support each other, or at least that's what I thought. But when I asked him to help out, he flat out refused, saying that we had our own life, we had our own household to take care of, and in a couple of months we would start trying for a baby as well. So we needed to save as much money as we can. And not only did he refuse to help out financially, he even asked me to stop giving money to my parents to help them out because they got into this mess themselves. And the most that we can do for them is just give them our sympathy. But we can't exactly keep helping them out with money because that would be unfair to ourselves. And having said that, he declined. He didn't even think about it. He didn't even pretend to take a moment. It was as if he had his answer ready and he had thought about it already. And I just found it very weird because if these were the sentiments that he had with my parents, if I had known it earlier, then even I would have behaved very differently because I remember a couple of years ago when his parents had refused to help his sister out with college tuition and everything because it would be way too much. He was the one who had turned to me for help, and I had gladly agreed to help them out with their situation. His parents had told his sister to opt for a student loan, but she wasn't too keen on that. So she had turned to him for help, and he had asked me to help out financially by splitting the college situation, and that's how we got his sister through college. I never thought of it as his family. I thought she was my sister, and I treated the situation as such. So now I had expected the same thing from him. I had not expected him to tell me that my parents have to deal with their own problems and he's not going to help at all. I found it quite mean-spirited and insulting, and I didn't even bother to fight with him over it. Because if he didn't care, and if he thought that this was completely reasonable and normal behavior, then I had nothing to say to him. For the next couple of hours, I tried to stay quiet and think about what I wanted to do next because I was really upset. But then, when he saw that I was upset, instead of talking to me and comforting me, he started telling me about how I was overreacting and making a big deal out of nothing. And at the end of the day, these were my parents I was talking about. They would be able to handle it without my help, and I didn't need to be so worried because that's not going to help my situation. At that point, I really lost it, and that's when I finally brought up how I had helped him with his sister, and he started telling me that that was totally different because he had also contributed. He was just asking me for a little bit of a push, but that's not how I remember it. I remember us splitting the college tuition equally. Back then, I could have easily said that it was his sister and not mine. And it was not fair for him to demand help from me and back out. But I didn't, because I thought of his family as my own. Here, clearly, though, he did not feel the same way, and that's why he was refusing to help my parents, even though I was asking for the same thing. I also planned on contributing equally and splitting the kind of financial help that we will be providing to my parents. And it was not even going to be close to the amount of money that I have contributed to his sister's tuition. In comparison to that, this would be practically nothing. And now we make more money than we used to back then, so he has every reason to help. But the fact of the matter is that he is just too stingy to actually help. I called him a miser to his face. And that's when the situation got worse. He told me that I was being insane and that nobody is entitled to somebody else's money. And my parents are no exception. He also said that if I didn't want to help his sister, I could have just said so, but now I have no right to bring it up and make it seem like I was under pressure to do it. He just misconstrued the entire thing on purpose and tried to make me the bad guy. But I was not having it. I left home. I packed up my stuff and I moved in with a friend, and the next morning I spoke to a lawyer, and within a couple of days I had filed for a divorce. And mind you, before I had filed for a divorce, he had not tried even once to get me back. He had just let the situation be. I had been staying with a friend for almost a week, and in that week, he did not make any attempts to reach out to me. But as soon as he was served, he and his entire family started telling me that I'm overreacting, that this is not the solution, blah, blah, blah. So right now, I'm kind of confused, because from the way that they are reacting, it makes me feel like I'm the one taking this way too far over something petty. But my heart says I'm doing the right thing. I still haven't spoken to my parents about him because I don't want to add to their troubles, but I really need to know if I'm doing the right thing or not. AITA for wanting to get a divorce from my husband because he doesn't want to help my parents get through a financial crisis right now. Update 1. Hey, so it's been a couple of days since my previous update, and I think I did the right thing by filing for a divorce, because judging by the conversation that I had with my husband, soon to be ex-husband, a couple of hours ago, I think this divorce couldn't be finalized sooner. Basically, so far, because I've been staying with a friend and he did not know where I was, he had only been trying to contact me via social media messages, texts and phone calls and emails. He couldn't exactly meet me in person because he was so desperate to talk to me. I decided to meet him at a coffee shop because I did not want him to be able to know where I was staying and end up bothering my friend by trying to show up at her house to talk to me repeatedly. So a couple of hours ago, we met and it was pretty awkward. But he got down to business immediately and he started apologizing to me. He said that if I really wanted it, then he would definitely help out with my parents. And he didn't know that it meant so much to me, because if he had any idea, he wouldn't have said no. He told me that he just thought, because we were planning on having a baby soon, he thought it would be better to save rather than blow the money on my parents. And look, I think anybody in my place would have picked up on the language that was being used, because clearly he thought it was a waste to help my parents get through this time. I mean, if somebody says that they're blowing the money on my parents, they clearly don't think that it's worth it. And I picked up on it. I asked him about it and he started telling me that I was just nitpicking things and it wasn't that deep. That aside, I also told him I was just disappointed that he didn't actually want to help my parents, because if he did, he wouldn't have said no in the first place. And even right now, he was saying that he's only willing to help my parents because he doesn't want to get a divorce. But it really shouldn't have come to this point in the first place, because if I were in his place, I never would have acted like this. I would have offered to help out rather than wait for him to ask me for help, because that's what families do. And I have always thought of his family as my own, so I expected the same from him. I told him that I expected him to want to help my parents on his own. And even if that was not plausible for him, at least he could have honored me and what I had done for his family and thought about that before flat out refusing so rudely that day. I was just sharing my feelings with him because I thought that was the way we would be able to sort things out. But at least talking about what had happened instead of fighting. But he started making faces. He started rolling his eyes and telling me that I needed to move on from all of them because he was here to sort things out. When I told him that that's exactly what I was trying to do, he told me I was just nagging him about everything that had already happened and he couldn't do anything about it. But now what matters is that he is offering to help, and I should just take that as a win instead of whining about the same things over and over again. He was being incredibly rude and disrespectful. And after a while, I just lost it and told him this meeting was over because clearly we are not on the same page and we never would be. I told him I knew I was making the right choice by getting a divorce, and now there was no way I was going back on that. He tried to stop me once, but when I said no, he started yelling at me as I left, saying that he didn't even want to meet me and he was completely fine with the divorce and he had only come because his parents had forced him to try to sort it out. But now he could go back home and tell them that I was being a total psycho and picking him apart for no reason because I was the one who actually wanted to separate. He was being ridiculous, but I didn't care. I just walked away because I wanted to preserve my sanity. So, yeah, long story short, the divorce is definitely happening, and I couldn't be more relieved about it at this point, to be very honest. Update 2. Okay, so I finally told my parents, and for the past couple of days, I've been hiding this information from them because, like I said, I really did not want them to feel responsible for any of this or feel like they were guilty. So I had been thinking about how to break this news to them, and I finally did. And I don't know, I feel like they are a lot more disappointed about this than I am. But thankfully, they are being extremely supportive of me. And I know that they feel very sorry for what has happened. But I know it's not their fault. So I've been trying to convince them not to feel so bad about everything because given the attitude that my husband has recently developed, I think this was bound to happen at some point or the other. So they don't need to beat themselves up about it. Now we just have to look forward to the divorce, and I'm hoping that it's resolved quickly and amicably because I want to get out of this as quickly as possible. It already hurts a lot. I don't want it to hurt more by dragging it out. Update 3. Hi, so it's been a few months since my previous update and I'm in the final stages of my divorce now. I've been getting therapy and I guess I'm doing better. I've moved out of my friend's house. I'm living on my own, and as for my husband, he has already started dating somebody new. From what I've heard, he's been posting with one of his co-workers a little too frequently for everybody's liking for the past couple of weeks, but I don't care. It's not confirmed whether they are in a relationship yet or not, but I don't think it matters to me anymore. We are done, and that's all that counts. In a few weeks, the divorce will come through and we will be done officially. He can do whatever he wants. It's not been easy. It's actually been pretty difficult. But I'm getting by now and life is getting better for me. My parents have also been able to deal with their financial crisis quite well, with a little bit of a push from me, so I think everything is resolved now and I don't regret any decision that I made, not one. I'm still shaking as I write this. My entire career just went up in flames because of my mother-in-law, and I'm questioning everything. I'm 32, female, and work in marketing at a mid-sized tech company in Austin. My husband, Luke, 34, male, and I have been married 6 years. His mom, Patricia, has always been difficult. She believes men should provide and women should stay home, all while working herself as an HR director at this huge firm. She's always seen me as too ambitious and told Luke he deserved someone better. The wildest part? I've been supporting our household for 5 years. Luke lost his job after COVID and hasn't found steady work since. I've paid the mortgage, bills, groceries, his student loans, and even helped Patricia financially after her hip surgery. But Luke never told his family. He was embarrassed, so they thought he was still the breadwinner. Patricia praised him constantly and made passive aggressive remarks about how lucky I was. I kept quiet to protect his pride, and things blew up 3 months ago at Luke's birthday. Patricia got tipsy and started ranting about how career women don't respect their husbands. She looked straight at me and implied I thought I was better than everyone. I finally snapped and told her maybe she should worry about her own marriage. She exploded, calling me ungrateful, and I fired back that she should ask Luke who's really paying for the house. The room went dead silent. Patricia stormed out. Luke was furious with me for emasculating him, and we had a huge fight. I felt bad, but I was done being disrespected while secretly funding everyone's lifestyle. 2 weeks later, weird things started happening at work. HR got an anonymous complaint claiming I'd acted inappropriately with clients and drank during work hours. Completely false. I'm hyper professional and rarely even drink. They launched an investigation. They found nothing, but the damage was done. Word spread and colleagues treated me differently. Then last month, my company lost a major client I'd managed for years. The CEO told my boss they'd heard rumors and didn't want to risk their reputation. I'd never even met the CEO in person, only emails and video calls. That's when I remembered Patricia mentioning she had contacts at that company. I looked on LinkedIn and found she was connected to people there, including someone in HR. I confronted Luke. At first, he denied it and then called me paranoid when I showed him the connections. Last week came the final blow. My company let me go. No solid evidence, but they said the accusations and client loss created too much liability. They gave me a small severance and neutral reference, but my reputation in the industry is shot. To make it worse, I found out Patricia's been spreading rumors about me at industry events, that I'm unstable, unprofessional, and difficult. She's respected. So many people believe her. My 8 years of hard work gone. I was up for a director role and now I can't even land interviews. Luke finally admitted she may have gone too far, but is still defending her, saying she was just protecting her son and didn't understand the consequences. He told me to move on, maybe change industries or relocate. He doesn't get that this isn't just about finding another job. It's about my entire career being ruined over a lie. I talked to a lawyer, but because there's nothing in writing, proving defamation will be nearly impossible. The complaints were anonymous and the rumors were word of mouth. Now I'm unemployed, draining our savings, and Luke still hasn't found stable work. The irony? Patricia's actions made the financial situation she supposedly cares so much about even worse. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to fight and expose her. The other part just wants to leave and start fresh. I'm also seriously questioning my marriage. Luke's reaction has shown me a side of him I don't like. Am I being unreasonable for expecting him to stand up to his mom when she destroyed my career? I feel completely lost and don't know how to move forward from this mess. Update 1. It's been 3 days since I posted and I wanted to update everyone on what's happened. First, thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me with support. I've been reading everything and it's helped me realize that I'm not crazy for being furious about this situation. I took some of the advice and decided to start documenting everything I could remember. about Patricia's connections and timeline of events. I also reached out to a few former colleagues to see if they'd heard anything specific about the rumors being spread about me. What I discovered made my blood run cold. One of my former co-workers told me that she'd heard the rumors about me months before the official complaints started. Apparently, Patricia had been planting seeds at industry networking events, starting with subtle comments about how some young women in marketing don't maintain appropriate boundaries with male clients. I also found out that Patricia is friends on Facebook with the wife of the CEO who dropped my company as a client. They're in the same book club, and Patricia had apparently mentioned concerns about a specific account manager at my company during one of their meetings. She never used my name directly, but she provided enough details that it was obviously about me. The most disgusting part is that I learned Patricia has been telling people that I've been having an affair with Luke's boss from his old job. This is completely insane because Luke hasn't worked for that company in over 4 years. And I've met his former boss exactly twice at company parties, but she's been using this fake affair story to explain why our family has been financially stable despite Luke's employment issues. When I confronted Luke with this new information, he finally started to grasp how serious this was. He called his mother and demanded she stop spreading rumors about me. According to him, she broke down crying and claimed she never meant for things to go this far. She said she was just concerned about our marriage and thought I was being disrespectful to her son. Luke wants me to accept her apology and move on, but I'm not ready to forgive someone who systematically destroyed my professional reputation over a period of months. This wasn't a heat of the moment mistake. It was a calculated campaign to punish me for challenging her authority. I've also been job hunting, and it's even worse than I thought. I've applied to over 30 positions in the past week, and I've only gotten 2 responses, both rejections. One recruiter was honest enough to tell me off the record that she'd heard concerning things about my professionalism and suggested I might want to consider a different career path. I'm starting to think that staying in Austin might be impossible. The marketing community here really is small, and Patricia's poison has spread too far. Luke doesn't want to move because his family's here, but I'm not sure I have a choice if I want to salvage my career. Update 2. I can barely believe what's happened over the past few days. This situation has taken a turn I never saw coming. After my last update, I decided to be more proactive about gathering evidence. I made a fake LinkedIn profile and started connecting with people in Patricia's network. I know it sounds sketchy, but I was desperate. What I found was a gold mine. Patricia had been careless with her social media privacy, and in several professional Facebook groups, she'd made posts about problematic employees and inappropriate workplace behavior. She never used my name, but the details were specific enough that anyone familiar with the situation would know she meant me. I took screenshots and brought them to a different employment lawyer who specializes in defamation. This lawyer was much more optimistic about my chances, especially since I could prove Patricia's connections to those who filed complaints against me. Then things got even crazier. Luke's uncle Steve, Patricia's brother-in-law, reached out. He's never liked her and said she'd bragged to family about teaching me a lesson. She apparently told Luke's aunt that career women need to be humbled, and she was protecting her son from a wife who didn't respect him. Steve was disgusted and offered to testify. He also revealed that Patricia had been planning this since Luke's birthday party. She told his wife she'd make sure I learned what happens when you disrespect family. With this new info, my lawyer sent Patricia a cease and desist letter demanding she stop spreading lies, threatening a defamation suit if she didn't. Copies were sent to her employer too, since her actions could be considered harassment. Patricia panicked. She called Luke in tears, claiming I was trying to ruin her career like she had ruined mine. She begged him to get me to drop it, promising to stop talking about me, and even tried to correct the narrative. Luke came home asking me to consider her offer. He said she was genuinely sorry and scared about losing her job. I told him she was only sorry because she got caught. Then he said something that broke me. He suggested we both apologize and move on as a family. That I'd embarrassed her at his birthday, and we were both at fault for how things had escalated. And that's when I realized Luke will never truly have my back when it comes to his mother, even after all she did. He still wanted me to share the blame. I told him I needed space to think about our marriage, and I've been staying at my sister's place for the past 2 days. Update 3. Guys, I have major updates. First, the legal situation with Patricia has taken an interesting turn. My lawyer received a call from Patricia's employer requesting a meeting. Apparently, after they received our cease and desist letter, they launched their own internal investigation into Patricia's conduct. What they found was pretty damning. Turns out that Patricia had been using her company's resources and professional relationships to conduct her personal vendetta against me. She'd been making calls from her office phone to clients and contacts, using her company email to send messages about me, and had even attended some networking events on company time where she spread rumors about me. Her employer was horrified to discover that their HR director had been engaging in what amounted to a harassment campaign against someone in their professional network. They were particularly concerned about the liability this created for their company, since Patricia's actions could be seen as representing their organization. Patricia was terminated yesterday for violation of company policy and professional conduct standards. Her employer also agreed to send correction letters to any clients or contacts they could identify that Patricia had spoken to about me, clarifying that her statements were personal opinions not endorsed by the company. The irony is incredible. Patricia destroyed my career and ended up losing her own job in the process. She's now facing the same professional reputation damage that she inflicted on me, except she actually deserves it. But the biggest development happened with Luke. After I'd been staying at my sister's for a few days, he finally seemed to wake up to reality. He came over last night and told me he'd been talking to his dad and Uncle Steve about everything that had happened. Hearing their perspectives on his mother's behavior finally made it click for him how serious this was. Luke broke down and apologized for not supporting me from the beginning. He admitted that he'd been so worried about keeping peace in his family that he'd failed to protect his wife. He also confessed he'd been embarrassed about our financial situation for so long that he'd lost sight of how much I'd been sacrificing to keep our family afloat. He's offered to go to marriage counseling and has agreed to have no contact with his mother until she makes genuine amends for what she's done. He also said he's willing to move to another city if that's what it takes for me to rebuild my career, even though it means leaving his family behind. I'm cautiously optimistic about working things out with Luke, but it's going to take time to rebuild the trust that was damaged through all of this. We're starting couples therapy next week, and I've made it clear that his relationship with his mother is permanently changed. She's no longer welcome in our home, and any future contact will be on my terms. As for my career, I'm actually getting some promising leads now that word is spreading about what really happened. Several people in the industry have reached out to express support and offer networking opportunities. My lawyer thinks we have a strong case for damages against Patricia, which could help compensate for the income I've lost. The whole experience has been devastating, but it's also shown me who I can really count on. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, and I won't let anyone, family or not, destroy what I've worked so hard to build. Patricia may have temporarily derailed my career, but she's ultimately lost everything while I'm on my way to rebuilding bigger and better than before. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.